Just recently, whispers leaking from elite Parisian fashion houses have alleged a stunning pattern of unreturned luxury gowns and glaring wardrobe malfunctions that have quietly blacklisted a certain Duchess from the highest echelons of couture. But beneath the wrinkled silks of a highly controversial veterans gala and a staggering $5,000 cashmere ensemble worn to an impoverished school lies a deeply guarded psychological secret that the royal establishment rarely acknowledges. What you are about to discover is the anatomy of a multi-million-dollar illusion, a hidden angle suggesting that these relentless sartorial disasters are not the result of mere incompetence, but rather a calculated, weaponized rebellion meant to actively dismantle the flawless image of the British monarchy. It is a subtle warfare waged in silk and wool, creating a stark, unavoidable contrast with Catherine, the Princess of Wales, who has mastered the art of sartorial diplomacy. To understand this silent conflict, we must look past the superficial critiques and examine the deeply embedded psychology of royal dressing. Long before the glittering tiaras and the sprawling estates, there was an actress working on a legal drama who fundamentally understood the power of a perfect fit. In a resurfaced interview from those early days, a starkly different philosophy was shared with the world. She explicitly stated that the most important element of any outfit is tailoring, insisting that a perfectly fitted garment makes an individual look 1,000,000 times better. This wasn't a passing comment. It was a foundational understanding of high-end styling from a woman deeply entrenched in the entertainment industry. Yet, upon entering the world's most scrutinized family, with direct access to the finest bespoke tailors in London, a baffling shift occurred. Aggregated reports frequently highlight coats that swallow her frame, waistlines that drift inches from their proper placement, and hems that sweep the pavement in ways that defy basic styling logic. This jarring contradiction begs a profound question. How does someone who inherently knows the rules of luxury suddenly forget them? Analysts suggest this is not forgetfulness at all. Unverified sources and fashion psychologists propose that this perceived sloppiness is an intentional weaponization of clothing. It is interpreted as an act of defiance, a visual rejection of the suffocating perfection demanded by the institution. When a woman is thrust into an environment that demands she become an immaculate, unwrinkled emblem of tradition, choosing to step out in a creased, ill-fitting gown sends a very specific silent message. It is a quiet refusal to be molded. It broadcasts a desire for individual identity over institutional conformity. The clothes are not wearing her. She is forcing the clothes to reflect a chaotic, independent spirit. Rejecting the flawless glass display case, the monarchy attempts to place its senior figures within. This approach stands in sharp, almost blinding contrast to the methodology employed by Catherine. Where one reportedly uses clothing to assert the self, the other uses it to completely submit to the duty at hand. Catherine's wardrobe is an exercise in meticulous, unyielding discipline. Observers consistently note that whether she is navigating a windy tarmac, bending to speak with children, or sitting through hours of rigid diplomatic engagements, her silhouettes remain completely undisturbed. There are no rogue creases, no slipping straps, no visible signs of the strenuous physical and mental effort required to maintain such absolute perfection. This is not merely a matter of having a different aesthetic preference or a different body type. It is a conscious, rigorous submission to the expectations of the crown. Catherine understands a fundamental truth of royal life. Once you accept the title, your image no longer belongs entirely to you. It belongs to the public, the institution, and the historical record. Her immaculate tailoring, often utilizing heavy structures and unseen foundation garments that prioritize visual perfection over personal comfort, is a daily act of service. She uses her wardrobe not to command attention for her own persona, but rather to direct respect toward the institution she represents. Millions of dollars have been spent on these competing wardrobes, yet the outcomes could not be more divergent. Observers have painstakingly tracked the cost of these transatlantic fashion choices, noting that staggering sums are often exchanged for garments that ultimately fail to deliver a polished image. This financial reality adds a layer of sharp intrigue to the swirling rumors. It is one thing to be effortlessly chic on a limited budget, It is entirely another to spend vast fortunes to appear intentionally disheveled. The reports suggest that this immense expenditure only amplifies the frustration within elite fashion houses. Designers lend their intricate creations expecting a flawless showcase on a global stage, only to find their work presented in a manner that contradicts their brand's ethos of meticulous perfection. This tension between the wearer's desire for rebellious expression and the designer's demand for immaculate presentation has reportedly led to quietly severed ties and unreturned calls within the highest echelons of the fashion industry. Meanwhile, the machinery behind Catherine operates with quiet, relentless efficiency, actively eliminating the fraught politics of fashion loans. By purchasing her garments outright, Catherine guarantees absolute control over the final presentation, a stark divergence from the chaotic narrative of borrowed runway samples that refuse to conform to reality. This meticulous control extends far beyond the physical fit of the fabric, delving into the highly sensitive arena of situational awareness. The ability to read a room is arguably the most critical skill a royal figure can possess, acting as the invisible thread that connects immense privilege to public empathy. When this thread is severed, the resulting visual dissonance can be deafening. Aggregated reports frequently point to a highly publicized September 2021 visit to a public school in Harlem, New York, as a glaring example of this disconnect. The school, situated in a neighborhood where reportedly up to 94% of students rely on free meal programs, was meant to be a backdrop for an act of literary charity and heartfelt connection. Yet, the chosen attire completely eclipsed the philanthropic narrative. Observers noted that the Duchess arrived draped in a sprawling, monochromatic burgundy ensemble from ultra-luxury house Loro Piana, a cashmere coat, and matching wide-leg trousers that commanded an estimated retail. The visual impact was instantaneous and, to many critics, profoundly jarring. The staggering expense of the garments, paired with the sweltering late-summer humidity of New York City, rendered the heavy cashmere deeply incongruous with the environment. It was a choice that fashion analysts suggest transformed a moment of supposed public service into a personal editorial spread. The clothing did not bridge the gap between royalty and the community. It erected a velvet rope, an impenetrable barrier of ostentatious wealth, that swallowed the compassion the event was intended to project. In the relentless arena of public relations, when the wardrobe becomes louder than the charitable cause, the mission has fundamentally failed. The focus shifts entirely to the wearer's ego, framing the underprivileged not as the beneficiaries of attention, but as mere props in a high-fashion photo shoot. This phenomenon is precisely what the British monarchy spends millions trying to avoid. Within the same month, an entirely different masterclass in high-stakes sartorial reading of the room unfolded in London. Catherine attended the highly anticipated global premiere of the James Bond film No Time to Die, an event pulsing with national pride and cinematic heritage. The setting demanded spectacular glamour, and she delivered an image that instantly embedded itself into fashion history. Stepping onto the red carpet in a resplendent, custom gold sequined cape gown by Jenny Packham, Catherine was undeniably the center of attention. Yet, fashion historians and royal commentators quickly decoded the deeper narrative woven into the glittering fabric. This was not a bid for Hollywood celebrity or an attempt to outshine the film's star-studded cast. The dress was a meticulously calculated homage, a structural and visual echo of a silver Bruce Oldfield gown worn by the late Diana, Princess of Wales, at a 1985 James Bond premiere. By channeling this specific historical moment, Catherine elevated the event from a mere movie screening to a celebration of British cultural continuity. Furthermore, the sheer blinding glamour was deployed not to scream her own name, but to amplify the prestige of the event itself. She understood that her role was to serve as the ultimate supporting act to the British film industry, utilizing her immense global spotlight to illuminate the achievements of others. The gold gown, while breathtakingly expensive and custom-made, did not feel out of place because it respected the required dress code of a monumental cinematic milestone. It was a perfect marriage of high fashion and institutional duty, proving that extreme luxury can be wielded effectively if the intention behind it is to honor rather than to overshadow. The contrast between these two September moments highlights a fundamental divide in how the platform of global fame is utilized. One approach reportedly uses the world as a personal runway, where every engagement is an opportunity to assert individual brand dominance, regardless of the socio-economic realities of the setting. The other approach views the global stage as a theater of diplomatic opportunities, where every color, silhouette, and sequin is a carefully calculated move designed to reflect light back onto the crown and its associated causes. This ability to suppress the personal ego in favor of the institutional message is what separates fleeting celebrity from enduring royal authority. It requires an innate understanding that true elegance is not defined merely by the price tag of the garment, but by its appropriateness to the moment. When a public figure fails to grasp this, the resulting wardrobe choices often cross the line from fashionable to deeply insensitive, a boundary that was notoriously tested just months later at a solemn gathering designed to honor the sacrifices of military veterans. The November 2021 Salute to Freedom Gala held at the Intrepid Museum in New York was an evening dedicated to valor, sacrifice, and the heavy weight of military service. Yet, the visual narrative was hijacked by a glaringly inappropriate sartorial choice. Aggregated reports and fashion commentators immediately fixated on the crimson Carolina Herrera gown worn by the Duchess. The garment itself was a spectacle, featuring a plunging neckline, an inverted bodice that reportedly struggled against the wearer's frame, and a daring thigh-high slit that exposed an expanse of skin entirely unsuited for a military tribute. Analysts suggest this was not a mere styling error, but a profoundly misplaced attempt to manufacture a viral fashion moment. Rumors whisper that the intention was to recreate the iconic impact of Diana's legendary revenge dress, a garment famously deployed to reclaim narrative power and command the media cycle. However, deploying such an aggressively sensual and egocentric design at a gala honoring wounded warriors revealed a staggering inability to comprehend the context. The veterans in attendance were inadvertently reduced to a somber background for a Hollywood-style red carpet parade. The dress commanded attention, but it was a disruptive attention, screaming individuality in a room that demanded reverence. It was an exercise in vanity, superseding duty. This jarring display is brought into sharp relief when juxtaposed with Catherine's unwavering approach to military and commemorative events. Each year, as November descends and the nation observes Remembrance Sunday, the Princess of Wales steps onto the balcony of the Foreign Office in an ensemble that is the absolute antithesis of attention-seeking fashion. Her wardrobe for these solemn occasions is rigidly structured, invariably consisting of tailored black coat dresses designed by trusted houses like Catherine Walker or Alexander McQueen. These garments are intentionally devoid of overt sensuality. They suppress the individual silhouette, hiding personal curves beneath the heavy, somber architecture of military-inspired tailoring. Furthermore, Catherine frequently utilizes wide-brimmed hats and subtle netted veils, a stylistic choice that partially obscures her face, symbolizing the withdrawal of her personal ego to allow the collective grief and respect of the nation to take precedence. She does not dress to be the story. She dresses to reflect the somber gravity of the moment. Her clothing becomes a vessel for national memory, an act of silent submission to the weight of sacrifice. This profound understanding of sartorial duty highlights the vast chasm between dressing for the cameras and dressing for the crown. When personal rebellion is prioritized over institutional respect, the resulting image is often one of jarring dissonance. This friction between self-promotion and cultural respect is not limited to domestic engagements or evening galas. It is brutally exposed on the perilous stage of international diplomacy. A royal tour is not a vacation, nor is it a personal runway. It is a highly sensitive diplomatic mission, where every thread woven into an outfit can be interpreted as a message to the host nation. Unverified reports and global commentary surrounding a highly publicized tour of Nigeria in May 2024 underscored a disastrous misinterpretation of this diplomatic tool. Traveling to a nation with deeply ingrained traditional values and conservative dress codes, particularly in its northern regions, the Duchess stepped out in a peach-colored, backless gown by California designer Heidi Merrick. The garment, ironically named the Windsor, featured a plunging back that exposed a significant amount of skin. The choice sparked immediate and intense backlash, with aggregated reports indicating that even the First Lady of Nigeria delivered a thinly veiled public rebuke regarding the inappropriate exposure. Analysts suggest this wardrobe selection was a glaring example of cultural imposition. Rather than adapting to the social and religious sensitivities of the host country, the Duchess seemingly projected a California-centric ideology of liberated fashion onto a conservative landscape. It was a visual declaration that her personal style and her desire to present a specific, modern image overrode the fundamental diplomatic requirement of showing respect to local customs. In the delicate arena of international relations, treating a foreign nation as a mere backdrop for a personal aesthetic statement is a catastrophic misstep. Conversely, Catherine has weaponized her wardrobe as the ultimate diplomatic icebreaker, turning her clothing into a silent ambassador that speaks volumes before she ever utters a word. Her international tours are masterclasses in cultural homage. When she disembarked in Pakistan, she did not force British couture upon the landscape. Instead, she gracefully adopted the traditional shalwar kameez, showcasing a profound respect for Islamic modesty and local craftsmanship. During a tour of Ireland, she meticulously curated a wardrobe drenched in varying shades of emerald green, a direct and unmistakable tribute to the host nation. In Poland, she actively sought out and wore designs by Gosia Bajinska, deliberately utilizing her massive global platform to elevate the local talent of the country she was visiting. Catherine's wardrobe strategy operates on the principle that to win the respect of a nation, one must first show that they have taken the time to understand and honor its culture. She allows the host country to influence her appearance, rather than forcing her personal aesthetic upon them. This meticulous, empathetic approach to dressing abroad ensures that her presence is always viewed as a profound honor rather than an imposition. The contrasting outcomes of these international strategies ripple back to the very capitals of global fashion, where the true cost of alienating designers and disrespecting the unspoken laws of the elite luxury market is currently being calculated behind closed doors. Within the rarefied air of Parisian ateliers and Milanese showrooms, the rules of engagement are fiercely guarded. Lending a couture sample is not a philanthropic gift. It is a highly transactional agreement based on mutual respect, brand elevation, and the absolute guarantee of a pristine return. Aggregated whispers from industry insiders allege that this unspoken contract has been repeatedly and carelessly shattered. Rumors continue to swirl regarding a notorious incident involving a borrowed luxury gown that supposedly vanished following a high-profile photo shoot, only to suspiciously reappear in personal promotional material months later. This alleged behavior, whether a product of entitlement or sheer administrative negligence, sends a chilling message to the creators. It suggests that the artistry of the fashion house is entirely secondary to the wearer's desire for possession. When delicate garments are returned irreparably wrinkled, aggressively altered without showroom permission, or simply not returned at all, the symbiotic relationship between muse and maker curdles into a parasitic drain. Designers, once desperate for the royal spotlight, are reportedly implementing silent blacklists to protect their physical assets and their brand integrity. Furthermore, the alleged refusal to appropriately tag or credit smaller, independent brands during public appearances exacerbates this elite burnout. It reveals an overarching strategy that seeks to absorb the glamour of the clothing, while refusing to share the commercial oxygen with the artists who actually constructed it. In stark contrast, the operational machinery surrounding Catherine is a masterclass in symbiotic luxury economics. She has constructed an empire of global influence by fundamentally rejecting the precarious, ego-driven game of fashion loans. Reports consistently confirm that the Princess of Wales purchases her garments outright. This simple act of financial transaction instantly neutralizes the fraught power dynamics of borrowing. When she wears a structured coat or an elegant evening gown, she owns it entirely. This financial independence allows her team to execute the meticulous, millimeter-perfect tailoring required for royal protocol without violating restrictive showroom policies. Beyond the physical fit, her team is renowned for their unwavering brand loyalty and the consistent, quiet promotion of British designers. When Catherine steps onto the pavement, the resulting economic tsunami is immediate and quantifiable. Independent boutiques routinely sell out of stock within minutes, waiting lists stretch into seasons, and struggling labels are catapulted into global profitability. This phenomenon is built on a foundation of profound respect for the industry. She does not cannibalize the brands she wears, she elevates them, offering a platform of unassailable dignity. The fashion world fights to dress Catherine because they understand that an association with the Princess of Wales is an investment in enduring commercial success, not a gamble on a chaotic, fleeting celebrity moment. Ultimately, the fabric of a royal legacy is quite literally woven from these daily sartorial choices. The illusion that clothing is merely a superficial covering is a fatal miscalculation for anyone operating on the world stage. Every thread, every hemline, and every silhouette acts as a historical document, a visual testament to how an individual navigated the crushing weight of public expectation. The aggregated reports and unverified rumors surrounding the chaotic wardrobe choices we have examined suggest a legacy defined by a relentless, ultimately exhausting struggle for personal supremacy. When a wardrobe is weaponized as a tool of rebellion, the resulting historical footprint is often fragmented, remembered more for its disruptive controversies and staggering costs than its diplomatic triumphs. Millions of dollars spent on ill-fitting couture and inappropriate galas ultimately purchase a highly polarized form of celebrity, a spotlight that burns incredibly bright but lacks the structural integrity to endure the harsh judgments of history. Conversely, Catherine's absolute submission to the discipline of the crown is actively forging a legacy of unshakable authority. Her wardrobe, stripped of narcissistic impulse and heavily armored with meticulous tailoring and cultural empathy, acts as a visual anchor for an institution navigating turbulent modern waters. She understands that the monarchy is not a stage for the self, but an altar of service. By allowing her personal identity to dissolve seamlessly into the uniform of her duty, she achieves a profound paradox of power. True immortality in the public consciousness is earned not by loudly demanding attention, but by quietly and flawlessly becoming the exact symbol the people require. In the grand tapestry of royal history, the ultimate distinction lies not in who wore the most expensive dress, but in who possessed the quiet, devastating power to master the perfect fit.